Hi everyone, I'm here with another Tuesday night video. Just 2 points that I want to make before I get started. The first one is, I know last week that I said I was going to do these every 2 days, and I dropped the ball, and I am so sorry. I have been bad. I am so sorry. It was a crazy week, but I'm getting on that this week, and every 2 or 3 days. I don't want to commit myself to every 2 because it seems like bad things find me wherever I go and prevent me from doing what I want to do. So, and I'm afraid something would keep me from making this video, like making these videos every couple of days. So we're going to say every 2 to 3 days. You're going to at least see 2 of these a week, possibly 3. So that I will promise you. And I apologize for not getting as many up, because like I say, I want to answer all your questions, and this seems to be going so well over here that I'm going to be doing it on a regular basis. So I will promise you at least 2 or 3 a week, and I promise you that I will not rest until those 2 are. Another point is that tonight's Tuesday night video is not actually, or I guess it's not the Tuesday night video because it's the regular video over here. Today's topic is a little different. It's not about relationships, but it was important and I wanted to make sure I discussed it. So anyway, Anonymous sent me a question, and she said recently she found out that her friend has been smoking weed. And she's very, very concerned about this. She was shocked because he's an avid churchgoer, and she just didn't expect that he would do that. One morning, I guess she saw him when he was high and he looked terrible, and she's concerned because they're both only 13. And she really wants to get him to stop, but she doesn't quite know how because they're not that close of friends. So Anonymous, you should not be shocked because he's a churchgoer, because quite frankly there aren't very many teenagers that have never tried it, although 13 is very, very, very young to have tried it. But you know, churchgoer teenagers are no different than any other teenagers. You know, they all want to be part of the in crowd, and they all want to fit in with the cool kids, even though the kids that do that are not the cool kids. They think they're at the time. So yeah, just going to church isn't going to make them not want to, it's not going to make him not be a normal teenager. Now, the morning that you saw him that he looked terrible, like, it's really hard to tell you what to do. Yeah, you say he's not a good friend, but you say he is a friend. Have you thought about going and talking to him about it? Do you know for sure? Like you said, you saw him when he was high and he looked terrible, but do you know for sure he was high? Because I don't know if you've seen it or not, but on this channel here I have a video about when my son was suspended from school because they thought he was high. And what it was he was working nights and going to school during the day, and he was tired. His eyes were bloodshot and he was tired, So, did you see him smoking the weed? Do you know for sure he was high? Like, you got to think of all these things before you talk to him, because basically if you're friends at all, if you go to him about something he didn't do, you're going to end that friendship right then and there. And so, you want to make sure, you want to know what you're talking about. You also don't want to go to anybody else unless you know what you're talking about, because that would be like almost troublemaking. So make sure you know for a fact that that's what was going on, because you said you saw him when he was high, not when he was smoking it. And that's what concerns me about whether you actually saw this. Now, if you are sure, 100% positive, and you basically caught him in the act, because that's the only way you can be 100% positive, then your first approach would be maybe to go to him and say, hey, I'm a little bit worried about you. And if that doesn't work, then try going to a school counselor maybe, and saying, don't say why, just say, I am so concerned about my friend so-and-so because he doesn't look well lately. He looks like he's not feeling well, and I don't know if he's depressed, or I don't know if there's something bugging him, or I don't know if he's sick. Get the school counselor to deal with it. The reason why you don't want to say is because unless you can provide proof, don't go, putting yourself out there as a witness. I don't know if you and him go to the same church, but you don't want to go to your pastor right yet. If you don't know 100% for sure and didn't catch him in the act, because see, I'm thinking that if your pastor didn't say something to him, then your pastor could kind of do a sermon that might hit home for him. The only thing is, if you didn't see him doing it, that's going to give your pastor a bad impression of him. And if there's the off chance that he wasn't, then you really don't want to give people negative feelings towards him, because if he wasn't doing it, then why should people look at him as a pothead or as a weed smoker, or, you don't want to give people that impression in case it's not true. Now, unless you know for sure too, I wouldn't suggest asking your parents. Now, normally I would say, about a lot of things, you should talk to your mom and dad, because moms and dads are the best counselors out there. However, in this case, if you're not 100% sure, you didn't see him smoking it, then if you go to your parents and there's the off chance he didn't do it, and then when he's 16 you decide he's really hot and you want to date him, I'll bet you your daddy will be standing there not letting him in your door because he has the vision of him being a pothead, whether or not he ever smoked it or not. So you got to be very, very careful about things like that before you start accusing or anything. Like if you didn't catch him in the act, then you don't know for sure that he was. And you just, like I say, you have to be very, very careful about things like that because it can be very detrimental to a person's reputation and to their future and to what other people think of them. And you don't want to do that to somebody. So at this point, I think your best bet would be, if you don't know for sure that, and you didn't catch him doing it, and you haven't, I would just consider that maybe he didn't feel well. I would, if you do think that he did it for sure, or even, you can even go to a school counselor now, whether you know 100% for sure or not, and just say, like I said before, like I don't know if he's not feeling well or if he's depressed, but there's something there, there's something not right, he's not himself, he looks terrible, but that at this point is what I would recommend. And not just with weed, people tend to make accusations against people because they assume. And you can't assume anything. Because someone looks terrible doesn't mean they're smoking weed. Because someone looks terrible doesn't mean they're out drinking. Lots of times in high school you hear rumors about certain girls and people will call them sleazy or slutty or whatever. And some of these girls have done nothing to deserve that reputation. They, could be the most innocent girl in the world, but because of the rumor mill and cattiness and other girls who don't like them, then that rumor starts going around. And, I think it's awful when people have their reputations damaged for something that they did not do. And that's why, a lot of people might be upset with me for saying, you really can't do anything because you don't know for sure. But, especially with something as important as smoking pot. But the thing is, anything you do could damage his reputation. And if he hasn't been smoking it, he does not deserve that. But anyway, yeah, so if you guys are friends, I wouldn't want to ruin his reputation if you don't know for sure. And based on what you said about you guys being friends but not very close friends, I think it's highly unlikely that you caught him doing it or that you know 100% beyond the shadow of a doubt for sure that he did. And so, if you do know 100% in your face, sure, then okay, cool, let me know and I will update this. My mother once told me never to say anything about anybody that you can't prove in a court of law. And I've always stood behind that and have been very careful not to say anything about anybody that I couldn't prove. So I wouldn't go ruining his reputation if you don't know 100% for sure caught him in the act sort of thing. So anyway, that's my advice for Anonymous tonight. Like I said, I'm going to make sure that there is a new video up here every second or at least 2 times a week, if not 3, so every second or third day. Tonight on my makeup channel, I'm going to point this way. I guess I should point to the end, but I don't know which way to point. But anyway, tonight on my makeup channel, we're talking about beauty tips. So I'll put an annotation up top here. If you want to come see what we're talking about over there, come on over. We'd love to have you. Until next time, talk to you later.